afternoon, guys. My name is Paul Smith. You're tuning into the 12 at 12 with myself, Paul Smith, a realtor in Austin, Texas, realtor, entrepreneur, general overall. Feel like I'm a good guy, hopefully. On some days, sometimes my wife's really good at pegging me down. Tell me, didn't just say my wife's good at pegging me. Love to have that one back for sure. My wife knocks me down a peg is what I was trying to say, Clarissa. That's funny. Welcome to the Comedy Hour by Paul Smith, a realtor at 12 Rivers realtor founder. This is the 12 at 12. For those that don't know, we just kind of BS about all things real estate. Dude, McCarley, what's up, man? Brian, I hope you're doing well, dude. It's been a minute. Shout out, we got Real Savvy in here. Guys, it's the 12 at 12. Koyo, good to see you. Toddy, you just missed it. Hope all's well. Yeah, we're not going to repeat it, but it's been good. Man, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy holidays. It's becoming a thing. But yeah, Sewell in the house. Those that don't know, Sewell was a D1 golf athlete. And so if anybody ever needs a ringer for golf, hit my man's up. Clarissa, thanks for jumping in here as well. Yes, we got a lot to talk about today. A lot of things happening in the world. A lot of great things happening in Austin. And I just had a call, great call, a group that's looking to invest about $5 million. And so nice thing is that there's some great options in Austin for groups that are looking to deploy some funds. This group is a company out of Europe that is taking money out of the European market and bringing it to Austin. Actually, they're looking to bring it to the States. And I was hopeful that I was able to pitch a strong enough case to bring that liquidity to the Austin market, which I think I have. So, those calls are a lot of fun when you start to talk to people about their goals and what they want to invest in and everything else as companies. Basically, they're coming in as a corporation looking to deploy capital. So that's always a good time. Man, where did I tell them to invest? I said, look, I'm building warehouses. I think that's the place to deploy capital. I will go ahead and send those numbers over to them, and we'll look at, taking down some dirt and building. And so I'll be the developer on that. Lease it up, manage it, sell it, all that fun stuff as well. Man, Toddy, how's the market out there, man? I'm assuming it's always going well for you. Man, Koyo, good to see you last night. Crazy story after we saw each other. I'll have to tell you in person on that one. One of the things I love about Austin is innovation, right? It's like activity breeds activity, like excitement breeds excitement, right? So in a case where you are constantly pulling up the Austin Business Journal and you're like, damn, this thing's happening. There's just so much cool shit happening in the Austin market, the Austin area. Yeah, there's a firefighting drone startup company that launches out of UT. Very cool, right? That's something that's super cutting edge. Obviously, anything with drone right now is hot. I think there's one thing maybe that the war in Russia and Ukraine has taught us is the value of drones and the ability to make these vehicles cost effectively that have a large impact. And obviously, it seems like drones for the most part have almost rendered tanks useless in a lot of ways. Having been in the military myself and been on a Bradley, which is like a tank light, man, I'm glad there weren't drones out there because these things would have just destroyed a Brad at that point. So super neat that that's coming out of Austin. Again, this level of innovation is great. The folks that did this also have started up a humanoid robotics startup. Surprise. Seems like that is all the rage right now. I think if you were going to talk about kind of, to me, like the hot button words right now, obviously AI, humanoid, and then quantum. I feel like those are the three big things. Maybe adding a fourth in there and/or fifth. Obviously, everyone loves the word data centers right now, rare earth metals, and nuclear power, right? And so that's one thing that we're going to talk about right now is, as I was kind of throughout the week, I'm just kind of always reading the news and, was reading on Apple News that on Bloomberg, they were talking about a another company similar to TerraPower, right? So TerraPower is a condensed, more efficient nuclear power plant that basically the actual reactor is about the size of an 18-wheeler, right? So you're able to have a very compact reactor that can power a very large data center, right? So that reactor would be the equivalent of powering, probably like 100,000 homes, and it's compact. So you're going to see, and you're going to start to see this investment, not just in the data centers, but in the power side of it. And so, man, if you are, I'm not huge in the stock world, but I would assume if you were uh, looking at some stocks in emerging markets, I think anything in the nuclear space or the energy space is going to be real sexy because these data centers are not. I mean, people are going to pay a lot of money for them to not be shut down, basically. I know Bill Gates has his TerraPower. The other one is actually out of North Carolina, is called Oklo, and it's a very similar type of a project. So pretty cool. Let's see. Toddy B says, showing a ton of homes this week and writing offers. So hoping to get a few deals under contract for the end of the year, which is always great. Toddy, I have a question, man. Would you ever, obviously, as agents, we love to get deals done on this side of the year because it helps with our numbers, right? But did you ever think about if you've got a deal, and obviously it's our clients, the clients dictate when things close. But if I've got a large transaction and it's going to close on, let's call it hypothetically Monday, December 31st, or Tuesday, January 1st, a lot of times for tax purposes, I would love for it to close on January 1st, right? Because that means that I'm not going to have to pay the taxes immediately on that. Gives me a little bit more of a chance to play with those funds, maybe invest it and help that grow, right? And so that's kind of the fine line a lot of times that we play as agents is like we want our numbers to look good, so we want it to close in December. But as we kind of push out and kind of expand that thought process and start to look at taxes, a lot of times, man, I would prefer it to actually close in January. That way, I can potentially save some funds or at least not invest those funds in the government immediately. We got Alyssa in the house. Shout out to Selma. Guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Paul Smith with the 12 at 12. We're just talking about nuclear power and the importance of it and how prevalent it's going to be in the state of Texas. One, Texas is very not pro wind and pro solar. And I think that's probably got a lot to do with the current administration. And so you're seeing a huge push from, the whole clean coal thing to, which sounds like bullshit anyways, to nuclear. And so that really seems to be the way things are going. And there's a couple of real cool companies. One is called TerraPower. The other one is called Oklo, which is a silicone startup that's leading the charge and bringing nuclear back to the U.S. with small reactors, right? And so I believe that one is backed by Jeff Bezos. I know Sam Altman's also got one. So all these large, basically companies, the Microsofts, the Amazons, the Googles of the world, all have their own. Well, they all have their own software system. So if you think about it, right? So Microsoft has Azure, Amazon has AWS, Google has like Google Workspace and their whole cloud suite. And so they have all of these things that basically it's the system that all these large companies work on. And it's the services that they're selling, right? It's called SaaS, it's called software as a service, is a huge profit for a lot of these companies at the end of the day. And so they're going to need to store their data, hence data centers. And that, it's not that ship has sailed, but that ship is currently in the process of sailing. And I think the next thing of that's going to be where are they all going to get the power? And so that's where a lot of the investment in this nuclear is coming in now. So I would say that's something great to look at. Very cool. Let's see what else here. Let's see. Fortune.com says more than half of U.S. homes have dropped in value over the last year, and nearly all homes in these cities have seen losses. By the way, no surprise. And this is based on Zillow, which Zillow is interesting, y'all, because Zillow in Texas is not as accurate as Zillow in other states. And why is that? Well, because Texas is a non-disclosure state. So when you purchase a home, you're going to get a letter from the county that says, congrats on the home. What'd you pay for it? rip that shit up. You don't need to tell them what you paid for it. Texas is a non-disclosure state. Um, Look, they can, if it behooves you, and if they've got it appraised higher, then tell them what you paid. But if it doesn't behoove you, then I would stay mum. I don't think I would tell them. So that level of data is not making its way necessarily into Zillow, um, because to my knowledge, Zillow does not have access to the MLS as far as that goes, right? And so guess what? No surprise on this. Austin was certainly on the list, and we've all said that as well, right? Over the last year, we've all said that the Austin market is down. However, the great thing is that the Austin market certainly feels like it's bottomed. And what I love seeing about headlines like this, which, by the way, I don't love seeing any headlines that say people lost equity. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I love seeing about it is that it starts to see other cities are now feeling the things that we felt 2 years ago, right? Over the past 3 years, we've gone through this. Now other cities are going through that. Toddy says I'm a bottom. I would say a power bottom, by the way. Love that for you. Here we are, but think about this, guys. So as these other cities are coming through, shout out Courtney. Hope all is well. Thanks for jumping in here. As these other markets start to go through the potential decline like we did over the past couple of years, people are going to be looking to put money into other areas. And so if you are a investor pulling money out of a market that hasn't necessarily taken a hit until starting to feel that hit now, I would want to put my money in a market that has already gone through that pain, so to speak, and now is starting to round up, as well as an area that has crazy amounts of growth, um, crazy amount of business development, everything from the government space, the tech space, the medical space. Those things I think and these are the calls I'm having with people. They're calling me ready to deploy capital, and so that's the infusion that we're going to want to see. So obviously that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of extremely long on Austin. And when I see headlines like this, either headlines that say, and they feel a little bit clickbaity, of saying like Austin is the number one market for buyers. It's because there's less buyers, there's more sellers than there are buyers, which I think is not a bad thing. At the end of the day, now is the time to get a deal. Like those that got caught up in the frenzy of 2021 and 2022, we're having conversations where people might not be selling for as much as they bought for. But those that bought in March of 2019, they made significantly more money, right? And the people that bought before the large kind of increase in value. So I think that's the opportunity now, based on the market stats. Also, there were significantly more sales last month, and so it's starting to really trend that way. I think if you start to see interest rates drop, you're going to see a lot of pent up demand in the Austin market, which is great. One of the other things I love is that we've had a few rate drops from the Fed over the past couple months, and so watching a line of credit go from let's say 6.5 down to 6 means that I'm paying a half point less on those funds. That means that everybody else in business is also going to be doing the same thing, because a lot of times in business, we are making money with other people's money, right? We're making money with leverage. We're not necessarily utilizing our own cash to do that. And so super grateful that we're seeing that. I think that's going to be the start of good things to come, as we're already starting to see a fair amount of money coming into this market. This is the case. I believe this is going to be the case, and it always has been the case. Is Austin is typically one of the first, to feel the effects in a lot of ways of potential downturns, but it's also the first one to come out, right? And even in the past, it's been the last one to go in and the first one to come out, because we've never seen a large amount of appreciation like we've experienced over the past 5 years. Prior to that, the last downturn that we had in the U.S. was 2008, 2009, 2010. There was a little bit of a hit. I think if you look at the market stats, we were down like 1%. And then after that, up until 2022, it was a steady and then almost hockey stick incline at that point. And then, those things that go up fast, they have to correct, and that's absolutely normal for a market. But guys, I would say if you are looking at getting into it, I certainly would. Just make sure that whatever asset class you're investing in is one that you know a good amount about and that you feel comfortable with. Um, if you need a good realtor out there, there's a few of them in the chat. Obviously, we got Salma, Toddy B, and got a bunch of realtors in the chat today. Look at this, man. They all showed up for me. Appreciate that. Alyssa, great agents out there. So make sure that you call a good agent. What else do we got going on? Why small business owners believe 2026 could be a year of growth? Well, I think I just said part of it, right? So money is cheaper at the end of the day. The other thing too is that up until recently, let's call it the past 6 months, the labor market has been extremely tight. The Austin market is even tighter. And so as you start to see these people potentially lose their job to AI in some way, or just companies at a high scale are laying off, these are the same companies that the small and medium sized companies, these employees, they wouldn't have a chance to go after them. If somebody that I'm wanting to hire for operations is also interviewing with Google, there's a good chance I'm going to lose to Google 10 times out of 10, I would assume. However, if Google lets them go, now all of a sudden I'm potentially getting Google level talent at 12 Rivers prices. And so I don't think that's a bad thing. The Austin market historically has a significantly higher labor pricing than the rest of the Texas market. Significantly higher, honestly, at the end of the day. If you can build in the Dallas market for, let's say, 100 to 125 a foot, that same type of product in Austin is going to be like 150 to 160 a foot. And so that's just the way it is. Cost of living is more expensive in Austin. We don't have the ability to add as many homes, stuff like that. Guys, this is Paul Smith. You're tuning into the 12 at 12. If anybody has any questions about anything, please let me know. Except for Toddy. Toddy's questions tend to be a little bit crazier, and so you gotta deal with that as we may. Clear. So what else? What else is going on? AISD, man, they came up with the list of schools that are going to close. Man, that's tough, man. One of the gentlemen that I used to basically, the gentleman that's the superintendent of AISD, I used to be in a fantasy football league with, and man, I do not envy his job at all, man. That's got to be a tough thing to be able to do right now, is to tell people that their schools are closing, but also at the same time, it's like, it is what it is, and you got to do it to be fiscally responsible. And so that is certainly not something that I am envious of at all. Let's see. AISD board approves school closures and turnaround plans. Let's see what schools are closing. Almost 9 hours after public began. Oh man, I guarantee you that was a boring meeting too. Oh God, dude, that would have sucked, just sitting there for 9 hours. Sorry if your schools got closed down, but man, if anybody's gone to these hearings, it's not fun. Yeah, the public. I think the last public hearing that I went to was for the McMansion ordinance, when they were talking about really drastically changing property rights in Austin, and basically telling people what they could and couldn't put on their lots. And that was something that really shaped infill building from 2008 to on. It's still affected. Superintendent Matthias Fura said he felt devastated. I can only imagine, man. That is a really tough job to do. Let's see. Schools that will close under a turnaround plan. Let's see. Barrington, yes. Bedcheck Middle School, Dawson, Oak Springs, Martin, Wynn Montessori, and Wyden. Yeah, I mean it's tough, and I think it's really tough because how far are people going to have to drive now? What's the bus plan? All that stuff. Yeah, that affects a lot of people, and those that are going through it. If you want to give me a call and discuss, anything we could do to help in any way, whether that's, looking at relocating for a different school or what that means, let me know. Happy to help. Guys, again, this is Paul Smith tuning into the 12 at 12. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Thanksgiving plans. What do we got going on for Thanksgiving? We're staying local. Actually, I got to get heading out soon. I've got a 1:30. We're going to. I got to look at my calendar here. Good news, it's not in the calendar. We're doing some game thing up off of Runbury and 35. Looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be like a family family like Jeopardy or like family
Game on.
yeah, Game On. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Those that don't know about Game On, you should go check it out. All right, guys, again, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. This is Paul Smith. Thank you for tuning into the 12 at 12. Looking forward to next week. Y'all be good. Peace.